The Mystery of BELICENA VILLCA. Second Book. The Letter of BELICENA VILLCA. 12th Day. The Emperor Constantine, with the Edict of Milan of 313, legalizes Christianity, and grants rights equivalent to the official pagan cults. At the end of 4th century, in the year 381, and thanks to the Emperor Theodosius I, is declared Christianity official religion of the estate, and pagan cults were forbidden. In 386 is ordained, through an imperial decree, the closure of all the pagan temples, and in 392, by imperial law, the pagan cult is considered and punished as crime of lèse-majesté, that's to say, sanctioned with death sentence. These actions not affected to the lords of Tharsis, because years before, they had already adopted Christianity as familiar religion. The cult of Jesus Christ proceeded from Canaan, the homeland of the Galileans, and such origin resulted, as is logic, suspicious since the beginning, but also was the pretended cultural fundament of the tragedy of Jesus. The registered prophecies in the set of the canonical books of the Hebrews, who claim to be the chosen people of the Creator God. Nothing of this convinced the lords of Tharsis, and, on the contrary, as more they watched the new Oriental cult, more they persuaded themselves that behind it was hidden a colossal contrived conspiracy of the wide fraternity. How was then, that they adopted Christianity as familiar religion? Because, about the provenance of the cult and the alienation of their worshippers, an unquestionable fact existed, that the story narrated by the Gospels was real in part. This could be assured by the Lord of Tharsis, without any genre of doubts, because they knew it since thousands of years ago, much before that Jesus came to Palestine. Because that was, undoubtedly, a new version of Neptune's history. To know history in all its purity would be necessary to go back thousands of years, to the past, to the age of the White Atlantans, father of all the white populations of the Pact of Blood. They are sure to be guided by Neptune, the great white chief, who had discovered the secret of the spiritual incarceration and had revealed them the manner in which the spirit could abandon the matter and be free and eternal beyond the stars, that is to say, beyond the abodes of the gods and the potencies of the matter. According to the narrations of the White Atlantans, Neptune was a god who existed, free and eternal as all the Hyperborean spirits, beyond the stars. The unknowable god, from whom nothing can be affirmed from here far from the origin, Neptune, and other gods, were angry because a part of the race of the spirit was trapped in the universe of the matter. The anger was not directed just to the potencies of the matter who retained the spirits, but also against the weak spirits, against who lacked of gracefulness will to break the illusion of the great deceit and be free by himself. In the earth, the spirit had been incarcerated to the animal man, to use its volitional force to accelerate the evolution of his psychic sphere. And such ferocious was the incarceration, such submersed was the spirit in the anemic nature of the animal man, that had forgotten the origin and he believed to be a product of the nature and the potencies of the matter, a creation of the gods. In other cases, since the spirit remained in the earth, the liberator gods, their brother spirits, came to their rescue and many were liberated and they returned with them. For this cause, terrible battles were fought against the potencies of the matter. Finally, for example, had crossed the origin, and had presented before the Atlantean men, the great chief, of all the prisoner Hyperborean race, the lord of the beauty of the uncreated forms, the lord of absolute courage, the lord of the uncreated light, the envoy of the unknowable God, to liberate the spirit, that's to say, the Christus, of the uncreated light, Christus light, Lucifer, or Christus Lucifer. But the manifestation of Christus Lucifer in the Atlantis caused the destruction of the materialist civilization. The Battle of the Atlantis ended with the submergence of the continent, much later of his return to the origin. In these circumstances, in front of the imminent catastrophe of the Atlantis, was developed the history of Neptune. The yellow men, the red men, the black men, all would perish in a cataclysm worse than which is looming in the Atlantis. The one that worries the liberator gods is the spiritual cataclysm, the abyss in which will be submerged even those who survived to the submergence of the Atlantis. And that result seems to be unavoidable due to the insistence and tenacity in which the white fraternity maintain the spiritual incarceration, but, mainly, due to the impossibility demonstrated by the spirit to avoid the illusion and to wake up from the great deceit. Such races, strategically confused, will continue following, blindly, the Atlantean priests, who will guide them directly to their spiritual decadence. The white race is the only, in this moment, that disposes of an opportunity of liberation, possibility that the gods will not ignore. But the white men are too asleep, with the spirit highly submerged in the illusion of the matter, extremely projected in the exterior world, will not be able to comprehend the interior revelation of the spirit, will not be able to be free by themselves. It is necessary an exterior revelation of the spirit suitable for the white race, to show the white man, from outside a liberation path capable to guide him to the Hyperborean wisdom. For it Neptune descends to hell. Neptune, God-free and eternal, accepts to descend to hell, come to the world of the matter, and to born as a white man. And as a white man, realizes the feat to set free his chained spirit by himself. He will demonstrate in this way to men, with the example of his will, the path to follow, the orientation towards the origin. In sum, the history that the white Atlantans, transmitted in form of myth, to the native populations is the next. In the Atlantis lived a very holy white virgin, consecrated to the unknowable God service and completely committed to the contemplation of the uncreated light. Afflicted by the terrible famine that her people suffered, such virgin asked for help to the unknowable, and this supreme God, whose will is the grace, teaches her a path towards the planet Venus. Once there, the virgin received from the envoy of the unknowable many exemplar of the plant of the wheat, which she would use to satiate the material hunger of man, a birch rod, that would be useful to measure the white treason, and the seed of a child of stone, who one day would be man, he would place at the head of the white race, and would satiate their spiritual hunger. When returning from Venus, the white virgin, who never had a carnal contact with any man, was pregnant of Neptune. The liberator gods had already announced that she would be mother and would give birth to a child whose spiritual wisdom would liberate the white race from the material slavery. A serpent tried to avoid the virgin to comply with her commitment, but she kills it, crushing its head with her right foot. Past the pregnancy period, the virgin gives birth to Neptune, and educates him to construct a warrior, counting with the help of the guardians of the lithic wisdom. In the Atlantis existed a footpath that guided to a spellbound garden, which was constructed by the god of the illusion. There an ancient pomegranate tree grew, it was the tree of life, and also as the tree of terror, which roots were extended through all the earth, and which branches were elevated up to the celestial abodes of the god of the illusion. Near to that bewitched pomegranate existed an apple tree, as ancient as such, which was called the tree of the knowledge, of good and evil, or tree of the death. Was a common belief amongst the Atlantans that men, in a beginning, were immortal. The cause that men had to die was, because the great ancestors had eaten from the fruit of that tree and the death was transmitted to their offspring as a disease. In reality, the blood of the tree, its damned salvia, was mixed with the immortal blood of the original man, and it regulated from the interior of man the life and death. And no one knew the remedy for the disease. Neptune, who didn't have a human father, was born immortal as the original man, but his immortality was, for the same reason, essential, only of his special spiritual nature. In consequence, his immortality was incommunicable to the rest of the white men, it was not useful for them to recover their lost immortality. For this reason Neptune, with the support of his divine mother, the Virgin Emma, decided to become mortal and discovers the secret of immortality for mankind. Since the great ancestors ate the fruit of the tree of death, no one dared to get closer to him due to the fear of the death. But Neptune was immortal as the great ancestors, and he achieved, as them, to get closer without problems. Once next to the tree, Neptune cut and ate from the forbidden fruit, remaining hereupon bewitched by the illusion of life. now was only missing for him to discover the secret of the death without dying, because if he died in the attempt he would never be able to communicate the wisdom to the white men. Thereby, Neptune crucified himself in the Tree of Terror to defeat the death, hanging 9 nights from its trunk. Nevertheless, as time passed by, the death was getting closer and Neptune did not achieve to comprehend its secret. Finally, once agonizing, the great white chief closed his unique eye, that he maintained fixed into the illusion of the world, and looked to the depths of himself, in a desperate and last reaction to save the life that was turning off without remedy. And in the summit of himself, in the middle of the infinite blackness of the insinuated death, he saw emerging a resplendent figure, a being that was pure gracefulness. Was Freya, the joy of the spirit, his divine wife, of the origin came to his rescue. When Neptune opens his eye again, Freya gets out from it and intonates in the world of the great deceit. She goes in search for the secret of the death, to save her agonizing husband. However, she didn't achieve it and time ends relentlessly. Finally, without despair, Freya goes to Hyperborea to ask the liberator gods. They advise her to seek for a giant Bicephalus, who lives in a world situated under the roots of the Tree of Terror and who performs the office of sentinel. To that giant she must steal the Kalakikra key, because on it the traitor gods have engraved the secret of the death. The myth of the White Atlantans is here very complex, and it is only convenient to mention that Freya, transformed in a raven, descends to the world of the giant Bicephalus and steals him the Kalakikra key, but, to get it, she had to become assassin and whore. Freya, in fact, breaks with a strike of her axe the Kalakikra key, but the pin, when it fell, was transformed in 7 giants with 7 heads each one, who sleep to let the rude races live for them. Thereupon, and without alternatives because she is urged by the time, Freya dresses with the veil of the death that such giants maintain attached with a lasso in each neck. Then she awakes them successively and become their lovers, but unrelentingly she goes beheading them in the culmination of the orgasm. And the head of the giants, skewered in a rope or a stragma, forms the necklace of Freya Kalada, in which every skull represents a sign of the sacred alphabet of the white race. Finally the veil of the death remains loose and Freya, transformed in raven again, returns swiftly with Neptune. But is too late. In the same moment when she arrived, Neptune exhales his last sign, his eyes being closed forever. Freya understands that it will be impossible to reveal Neptune the secret of the death, because he has just died and he won't be able to read the Kalakikra key. And that's how, without losing an instant, Freya takes the decision that she will save Neptune and the white race. She becomes a partridge, and enters again in Neptune. The Kalakikra key must remain outside, because only she can exist in the depth of himself. Freya must reveal to Neptune the secret of the death, not only to achieve his resurrection, but also to make that her husband communicate it to men. In other way his immolation would be in vain. But how expose to Neptune the secret of the death without the Kalakikra key, without showing him that instrument of the spiritual incarceration, for his comprehension? And Freya decides it in that moment. As a partridge, she will dance the secret of life and death. She will express, with the dance, the highest wisdom that would be possible to be comprehended by the mortal men from outside of themselves. And Freya, dancing in the depths of himself, reveals to Neptune the secret coming from outside of himself. And Neptune understands it, and the spell caused by the fruit of the tree of life and death was cut, and he resuscitates again as an immortal. And when he descends from his crucifixion tree, he realizes that his body has transmuted and now is of pure stone, and that he can comprehend and express the language of the birds. So, Neptune teaches to the White Atlantans the 13+3 runes, through the language of the birds, and guides them to understand the sign of the origin. With it they will obtain the highest wisdom, they will be immortal while the spirit remains chained to the animal man, and they will conquer eternity when they win in the battle against the potencies of the matter, and be free again in the origin. I've synthesized, hitherto, Dr. Sentinel, the history of Neptune, according to the mythical narration of the White Atlantans. it is easy to advert that it had many common points with the Gospel's history of Jesus Christ. Both histories treat about a God made man. Both got born from a virgin. Both died by voluntary crucifixion. Both resuscitate. Both leave the testament of their wisdom. Both form disciples to whom they reveal the good news, that they shall communicate to their similars. Both affirm that the kingdom is not from this world, etc. But it is evident that exists, also, fundamental differences between both doctrines. Perhaps, the most noticeable are the following. Neptune comes to liberate the spirit of man of his prison in the world of the Creator God. The spirit is uncreated, that's to say, not created by the Creator God, and hence, nothing that happened here can essentially smirch it and much less affect it ethically. The spirit is innocent and pure in the eternity of the origin. For this reason Neptune affirms that the Hyperborean spirit belongs to a warrior race, and only can manifest an essential hostility to the world of the Creator God, only can rebel itself from the material order, can only doubt about the reality of the world that constitutes the great deceit, can only refuse as false or enemy to all who is not product of himself, that is, the spirit, and can only encourage just one purpose with wisdom. To abandon the world of the Creator God, where is enslaved, and return to the world of the unknowable, where will be a God again. Adversely, Jesus Christ comes to save the soul of men from the sin, from the disobedience to the law of the Creator God. The soul is created by the Creator God and has to obey blindly the law of the Father. All what happens here affect ethically to the soul and can increase its sin quota. The soul is not innocent neither pure, because men are here in this world as a punishment of an original sin, committed by the fathers of the mankind and inherited, thence, the original sin. For this reason Jesus Christ affirms, that soul of man, the most perfect creature of the Creator God, must only manifest an essential love, attitude to the world of the Creator God, must only accept with resignation his place in the material order, must only believe in the reality of the world, must only accept as real and friendly what proves to come in the name of the Creator God, and must only encourage a unique objective with wisdom. To stay in the world of the Creator God as a lamb, and be shepherded by Jesus Christ or the priests who represents him. To be a God or a lamb, in that consists, Dr. Signal. As I anticipated, when the imperial law of the year 392 threatened to consider crime of injured majesty, the practice of the pagan cults, although the House of Tharsis had accepted Christianity, long time ago as their familiar religion. Logically, the lords of Tharsis saw clearly the march of such time, and their unique priority, since the destruction of Tartessos, was to give accomplishment to the familiar mission and preserve the wise sword. This familiar priority determined a strategy for the survival of the lineage, survival that could be strongly threatened by a new persecution. Were difficult times in 4th century, the decadence of Rome, that Pelops foresaw in the 2nd century before Christ, had become real. The empire, stalked in all its frontiers by the invader populations, has incorporated entire regiments of mercenaries and has given the command to the barbarian armies. The agriculture of the small agriculturists was ruined centuries ago and disappeared in Italy, absorbed by great landowners. Only survived, in those days, the colonial estates, amongst them, the one that the Lord of Tharsis had in Spain, contributing with their low prices to destabilize the economy of the metropolis. In front of this panorama of general insecurity, the lords of Tharsis, who were not kings but a family of landowners and Hispanic Roman functionaries, they must act with extreme caution. Christianity has been imposed in the summit of the imperial power, now is supported by spears and the legionaries' swords. But this Christianity, evidently, has not doctrinaire principles to result absolutely unacceptable for the lords of Tharsis. As they learned harshly in their war against the Gelams, the myths, the legendary histories, the arguments that are written in heaven, can be repeated again in the earth. And they are disposed to accept the history of Jesus, and even the message, the good news, as some kind of actualization of the myth of Neptune. The lords of Tharsis will become Christians, because they will see the history of Jesus with the optic of the ancient wisdom. and they will not discuss the differences, although they will have them present and they will never forget them. They will embrace the cross and will celebrate the sacraments of the Roman Church. For all the effects they will be consecrated Christians. Even they will give from their children to the Church. But amongst them, in the middle of the house of Tharsis, they will only recognize as truth what is coincident with the history of Natan, or with other fragments of the Hyperborean wisdom that the family still retains. As in their moment the Gnostics and Manichaean, and later will make the Cathars, and Albigens, they will accept only a part of the Gospels, especially the Gospel of John, and will absolutely deny the Old Testament. This is what they alleged, that the God of the Jews was Jehovah Satan, an aspect or countenance of the God One, the creator of the material universe. In the Genesis is narrated the history of the creation of the material universe, where would be enslaved the eternal and uncreated spirit. The spirit only concedes value to the real world whence it comes, and from where also came the creator God, due to the material universe, has been evidently created as imitation of the real world. And in the Old Testament is narrated also the history of the chosen people, by Jehovah Satan, to reign over all the countries of the earth. It was not clear then, the promise that the Creator had made unto Abraham, lookest around whence you are, to the north and south, to the east and west. All the land that thou seest I will give to thee and thine offspring forever. I will make thine offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could reckon the dust, then thine offspring could be counted. Goest, walkest upon the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to thee. Genesis 13:14. Promise which is reaffirmed later, and taking him out, Jehovah said unto him, Lookest out to the sky and countest, if thou canst, the stars. And he added, Thine offspring will be as the stars thou seest in the sky. But the Creator was clearer with Moses, when he revealed the mission of the chosen people. Therefore if ye will hear my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be my chief treasure above all people, though all the earth be mine. Ye shall be unto me also a kingdom of priests, and a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. Then, and he answered, Behold, I will make a covenant before all thy people, and will do marvels, such as have not been done in all the world, neither in all nations. And all the people among whom you are, shall see the work of the Lord, for it is a terrible thing that I will do with thee. Keep diligently that which I command thee, this day. Take heed to thyself, that thou make no compact with the inhabitants of the land whither thou goest, lest they be the cause of ruin among you. But ye shall overthrow their altars, and break their images in pieces, and cut down their groves, Asherah poles. Exodus 19:6. 34:10. When complying with the covenant, the chosen people will be blessed by the Creator, according to what he communicates to Moses. Ye shall make you no idols nor graven image, neither rear you up any pillar, neither shall ye set any image of stone in your land to bow down to it. For I am the Lord your God. Ye shall keep my Sabbaths, and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord. If ye walk in my ordinances, and keep my commandments, and do them, I will then send you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall give their fruit. And your threshing shall reach unto the vintage, and the vintage shall reach unto sowing time, and you shall eat your bread in plenteousness, and dwell in your land safely. And I will send peace in the land, and ye shall sleep, and no one shall make you afraid. Also I will rid evil beasts out of the land, and the sword shall not go through your land. Also ye shall chase your enemies, and they shall fall before you upon the sword. And 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight, and your enemies shall fall before you upon the sword. For I will have respect unto you, and make you increase, and multiply you, and establish my covenant with you. Ye shall eat also old store, and carry out old because of the new. And I will set my tabernacle amongst you, and my soul shall not loathe you. Also I will walk amongst you, and I will be your God, and ye shall be my people. I am the Lord your God, which hath brought you out of the land of Egypt. Leviticus 26. This chosen people, hence, would be the one at the sword the Atlantans announced thousands years ago, the enemies of the pact of blood. Was at least ironic that now was pretended to derive from such damn people and emulous of Netan, the founder of the pact of blood. But Jesus was not coming to save the pact of blood, but precisely to destroy it forever, what demonstrated that was consequent with his provenance from the chosen people. By Jesus Christ, the pure blood would be degraded as never before, the entire mankind would become bastard, the courage would gel in the veins and would be replaced by the fear of the God One. And when men be materialized, and would not answer to the fear of the God One anymore, courage would not emerge anyway, because men would be immersed in the moral degradation of the cultural decadence, they would become effeminate and softened, they would be confused in an universal scoundrel of the spirit. But this vile scoundrel, naturally, even the church as the other founded sects by the chosen people and the white fraternity, would extract the best of the earth, that's to say, to those who would support and aid them with fervor, the priests and the faithfuls, the members of the secret societies, that would reign the world and the scoundrel of the spirit that would approve their government, worms and serpents, lamb and sheep, peace pigeons, no eagle, no condor, Dr. Signal. Of course, that the exception to this rule remains save to the ones of pure blood. To all those who intuit that with the crucifixion the eternal spirit must be liberated, that it never sinned, and not saved the sinner soul. To those who want a warrior Christus, and not a shepherd Christ. To those who feel a Christus, of uncreated light, and not to those who perceive a material Christ. The Christus that the lords of Tharsis conceived, for example, was a spiritual pure God, of uncreated light, who if would be manifested in the earth, would make it wearing a king's crown, and wielding the sword. And in this parousia, the mere presence of Christus, would be enough to produce an spiritual aristocracy amongst men, that would put end to the confusion of the spiritual scoundrel. Christus would communicate charismatically to men, he would talk to them directly to their pure blood. And who be able to listen it better, would be really the most virtuous, the most spiritual, the real Christians.